My name is Derda. I'm the social media coordinator for Robert Morris University. I've been doing it for about a little over a year now. And I think I pretty much have a grasp on what's going on with social media when it comes to higher education. We've gone through a lot this last year at Robert Morris. A lot of it was trial and error. One thing I found out is not that many other schools were doing it, so I didn't have too many people to talk to. So the university, thankfully they were behind me 100% and said, go out and try it, see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, find another job. So how many people do we have in higher education at universities? Cool. Which schools?
Carlin.
Okay.
CMU.
Penn State, AIO.
Okay, so it's mostly Western Pennsylvania schools, PA schools. So what's everyone using right now? Is everyone pretty much on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? On Foursquare? A little bit of everything?
Actually, LinkedIn has expanded its capacity for being social in the context of being a professional, and I found I'm in my 40s, so I found for kind of higher level, more in-depth conversations with my colleagues, LinkedIn is a better space than Facebook.
Okay.
That's just been my...
Are you getting more feedback through LinkedIn than you are through other avenues?
It's
More
just
people joining your groups? Or?
Well, there actually are groups on LinkedIn, which surprised me. You
Okay.
can create your own group, which really surprised me, around a specific topic. But just the level of communication is much more in-depth. Where on Facebook, it's more just about having fun. That's just been my personal experience. And sometimes the political conversations on Facebook can get really in-depth. But other than that, I haven't really had a depthful experience on Facebook.
Okay.
Now, and I'm in my 40s, so it might be different for people from different decades of their life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anybody else prefer one over the other?
I operate Kids Facebook and Twitter, and I think it's more about looking at who your audience is that you're trying to reach. So for me, when I started using social media, I wanted to talk to an untapped audience, which was our prospective students, our current students, and recent alums. Because those are the people who were not reading our press releases that we put out every day. And I find that Facebook is how we can reach that specific audience.
Okay. The first thing you want to do is you have to know who your users are, or who your audience is. The first thing that I did is I wanted to make sure we did an online survey of our students. I think everyone's using Twitter. I found out more people are using Facebook, and we had a very small audience using Twitter. And like I said, the results may surprise you as to what's popular and what's not. You really don't know your audience as well as you think you do.
Doug, I'm sorry. But is your context at your job, is it getting information out there, like in a sense advertising different things the university is doing to the student, or is it actually educational at creating interaction around experiences they're having in the classroom or something?
It's a little bit of both. Originally when we had started, and also feel free to shout out anytime you want to stop me, because I'm probably just going to babble and go along with my slides. So if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to let me know. Originally when I started with this, it was for advertising. We wanted people to know about our programs, stuff that was going on at the university, and that actually turned more into a conversation on Facebook.
Okay.
Then as I thought conversation would be on Twitter, and I was wrong because more students were solely into Facebook. Everyone wanted to share their pictures, they wanted to share their stories, and that's where we saw a lot of the feedback coming to us, was people were making posts onto different pages that they had set up about, RMU, I like RMU, I love RMU, I don't like RMU, whatever was going on at the time, and then we would take feedback from there and then go to the administration or go to maybe a professor that for some reason didn't have a high rating, or if the students had complaints, we would go to them and say, hey, just so you know what's out there, there's a lot of people that are paying attention to this right now, and you need to know what's going on. The other big thing with doing online surveys is you get an idea of what tools they're using too. If they're using the internet or their smartphones that connect, if they're using solely the web browsers. That's going to be big for your marketing campaigns too, because if more of your students are accessing your content through a mobile device, you don't want to shoot out an entire website dedicated to this great marketing campaign, but no one's going to go look at it. they want to look at, they're going to see content on their phone formatted for their phone. And if it doesn't look good on there, they're not going to pay attention to it. The other big thing, offer incentives. People love free stuff. Give them an incentive to do it. It could be a 2-minute survey, it could be a 5-minute survey, it could be a 10-minute survey. Give them something that's worth their time. One thing we found out is gift cards are always great. They're college students. They don't have that much money. They need stuff. They need to go out and buy things. Barnes & Noble, Starbucks, any of the local businesses are really good to go to. T-shirts work great.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says, T-shirts are the best thing you can give out. They're inexpensive.
Absolutely.
They get your message out, and really when you're not doing laundry for like a couple of weeks, you're going to grab another T-shirt and wear it for a couple of days. If you can get one that turns inside out, that's even better too. From an administrative point of view, establish your identity. You want to make sure you set guidelines, not standards. One thing I found out, you throw the word standard out there and people think that you're pushing your agenda onto them. If you say these are your guidelines, they feel they can be creative. They have their own ability to go out and create whatever they want to. You have to make sure you also stress your brand. One thing we do with all of our accounts is, if you go on Facebook, you'll notice RMU is before everything that's been sanctioned by the university. Any page that we've created, any group that's out there, I believe most of the faculty accounts all have RMU before it. So also when you're doing a search, our name's going to come up right away. So we found out RMU also stands for a couple other things out west. I guess there's some kind of bikers club. There's a surfing club with RMU. We get a lot of crazy returns on this. And the other key thing too is never date yourself. And by that I mean don't ever put a date into the name. One thing we found out with the Pittsburgh College Hockey Showcase is we had 2010 put at the end of it. And that was created last year before I got in there. And with that, you can't change the name of your Facebook page. You're stuck with that name the whole way through. So once you put that date on there, now you have to recreate the page again. You have to tell all of your followers to move over, and there's a good chance you're probably going to lose some people. That's also big for any of your sporting events. Never put a date on it. And also, if you're unless you're going to set up an event. If you're going to set up an event, that's fine, because well, you have to have the date. But if you're going to set up a fan page, you say for you're having a conference here, like PodCamp Pittsburgh 2010. Well, after this year, if this was the first time that we did it, next year you'd have to create another one, or just create PodCamp Pittsburgh. Anybody have any questions?
No, but I'd like to say something about your thing about how students, and I guess that'd be any audience, is connecting. So we do it. I'm at the School of Pharmacy at Pitt, and we do an incoming survey of all of our students. We have 4 professional years. They do a couple years undergrad, and then they come to the School of Pharmacy to get a doctorate of pharmacy degree. And I was amazed, less than 5% of our students use Twitter. And I think that has a lot to do with the kind of people that want to become pharmacists.
Okay.
They have a very specific way of thinking, and they're very rigid about how they do things. And while they're on Facebook, they don't want professional stuff there, because they want to keep their personal and their professional separate. And so I think it's surveys like that are really essential, because if you make assumptions, because they're all kids, they're all going to be on social media, that just doesn't work. That's a false assumption. So yeah, for us, surveying like that makes all the difference in the world. And for us on our Facebook page, it's alumni that are embracing that more than anybody else. Students are reading it, but they don't even think about posting to it. Okay. But alumni, yeah, they love that.
I can second this. Dental students are the same. From Pitt Dental School, it's the same thing.
I wanted to also say I teach at La Roche, and I work with really underprepared students. And I recently did a survey of them, and they're not even on the internet, a lot of them. So they'll use their phone and they'll send text messages, but I almost died right there in front of the room. And these are students who don't have computers, like they're from lower socioeconomic statuses. So, I was operating under this assumption that everybody who's young is using all the social media. So I was really shocked.
That's a great example of using the survey. You could have came out with a whole web campaign geared towards the students, but they would never see it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm Tara McBride. I'm with Point Park University. I'm the director of social media there. And when I started there, I knew I wanted to do Twitter and Facebook, knowing that Twitter was not where our students necessarily were. However, I've found in the past year that those students that weren't there last year are there this year. They're discovering that we've sort of created a need on Twitter and created a desire for them to be there. We've run competitions through Twitter, or we'll announce certain things on Twitter that we don't necessarily put on our Facebook profile. And so we found a pretty good surge in student participation on Twitter because we're using it as a customer service tool, or we're using it to spread information about student groups and their activities that they're doing. I'll go out and take pictures of like Pittsburgh Parking Day yesterday and post that on Twitter, just so that they know what's going on in their campus. And I've just found that there's been a nice increase in student participation on Twitter, just because we created that need.
I think that's one of the big things too, is a lot of the students don't know this technology's out there, or there's
how to use it.
There's a big problem with the way Twitter is portrayed in the general public. Is everyone thinks it's for celebrities. Oh, I'm going to stalk. It's all these people are on Paris Hilton and Ashton Kutcher because they have millions of users. But actually, there's a lot of everyday people that are using Twitter. Some of your friends might be using it. You could find out stuff that's happening at that moment. And you could be in the student union and say, hey, they're giving away t-shirts, or hey, you've got a discount on food today if you show up. And people will start coming to it. That's the message that education needs to get out, is there's alternate avenues out there for communication, not just what you're used to.
I'm a grad student and teaching fellow at Pitt, and I'm in the Department of French. And my colleague uses Twitter, and she has all of her students sign up for it, and she posts assignments and all that kind of thing on Twitter, and she connects it to, we use Blackboard, so she connects it, and it works really, really well. I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
There's one thing too, I teach high school, and my kids don't use Twitter until they start seeing me use it. A lot of your universities I follow, and I use Echo Phone, so whatever I'm doing, a presentation, your tweets from Carnegie Mellon University will come up, hey, this is what we're doing this weekend. So my students see that, and that's a marketing tool for the schools, because I do follow quite a few local schools so the kids can see what kind of activities are happening. So don't discount the use of Twitter, or think that a lot of people aren't using it or seeing it, because, in my classroom, they see all of your tweets that happened during that time.
I think once word starts to get around of what you're doing with each of these different platforms, one thing that we're doing with Twitter too, it's similar to what Derda's using, is we'll have contests on there. On Tuesdays, we might have like a Tuesday trivia. And we found out that once word of mouth got around that, hey, Robert Morse is starting to give away free stuff on here. Let's sign up and see what's going on. But then we're also using our news account too. Our Twitter account is RMU News. And through there, we also say, here's what's going on. There's a play going on down at the theater. Go check it out. Get a discount. So-and-so's talking over at the chapel. Go see, get their presentation, stuff like that. And it is starting to turn around for us. More people are using Twitter because they found out it's real-time communication. That's the big thing. Whereas with Facebook, you kind of have that delay there of, it's whatever, you check in, you'll see what's going on. Whereas with Twitter, it's if you ask a question, odds have it you're going to get an answer right away. You're going to find out what's going on right away.
That makes me think of another thing. I may be jumping ahead, and you may actually be covering this in the rest of your presentation, but the biggest problem I have with a lot of places that tweet, universities, newspapers, whatever, is that sometimes it ends up being more like a feed instead of a conversation. Yeah. They just let me spew information to you, but I'm never going to respond to anything that you ask me. And that's the most frustrating thing I find about any place that tweets. I stopped following a lot of people because in a lot of universities, brands, whatever, newspapers, etc., because it simply was like an RSS feed on my Twitter account. And I don't want that. And I ask you a question if I say, well, I want to know more about that, or what's going on here. And you don't get a response. It's frustrating as a user.
That's the big problem right now that I found out too when I first started doing this in higher education is I'm very much about I want feedback. That's the reason why I'm on the internet. I want feedback from somebody. If a brand gets back to me and I say, I have an 18-month-old son, so if I say, hey, I don't like this set of Pampers got back to me right away. I want that kind of feedback from a company if I'm going to ask them a question, or even a person. And granted, none of the celebrities are going to get back to me, but it'll be great if they did once in a while. The one thing that we also stress too is we do reply to everyone, pretty much everyone that sends us a message at our RMU account. It is a real person that's working. It's either myself or the director of PR. Whereas some other places we've seen, it is just an RSS feed that people are sending to it. And then it hits Twitter, it hits Facebook, it hits everywhere. Right. It's really annoying. And I think that's where a lot of places are failing at, is because they say, oh, this is an easy way. We don't really have to staff anybody to do this. Let's just send them this feed and be done with it. And that's the issue. You're not getting feedback. You're just blasting out messages, and really you could get those ads anywhere else on the internet.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, you can't use social media for broadcast. It's social. If it's not social, then it's bad.
It's all about the
It's not going to work. And that's one place that I think that I work for an agency and we consult with colleges and help them use social media. Is that I tell them to use Twitter a lot. Is you can't just look at the number of students that are on Twitter and say it's low, so we shouldn't use it. The people, you've got to pay attention to the medium itself and who's on there. If you have a Twitter account, you're also on Facebook. You may also have a blog, so you're the influencers. So if you're trying to use Facebook in a way that's social and not just broadcast, engage your influencers over on Twitter, get them to participate more actively as a content provider on Facebook. So you've got to look at the crossover between the two.
Right.
If I can go back to a point that you had made before about how Facebook seems to be more fun and you don't get into any in-depth conversations. Your space is what you make of it. And so, I post things for Point Park about what's going on around campus and, all of that's well and good, but I'll also find relevant articles. For example, one of the universities in central Pennsylvania was restricting social media for their students for a week. They cut it all off for a week. And so I posted the article and I said, what do you think about this? Are we too connected? And it got this great dialogue going on Facebook with my users. And so you can create a space that has a little bit more depth to it on Facebook and make it what you want it to be. I mean, it can be a place to just have fun, but it can also be a place to have good
We encourage that kind of conversation on the Robert Morris page. We will post articles. That's a good one, though. I haven't seen that article.
It's great.
But we do post if there's something about Robert Morris in the news, something with social media, something that could affect our students. We'll post it on there, and we usually do get a pretty good reply. One of the other big things with students taking notice too is we have class pages, which I'll touch on shortly. Each of our classes has their own dedicated page. We went in one class from 302 users to about a month and a half later, we had over 700. It was because word got around that they had this ability to go out and ask questions. And they were getting replies from the administration, from certain people. It's from RAs, from people in admissions, from people in student life. Any kind of questions they have were getting answered within about 48 hours. And you can't check it all the time, but they were getting pretty close to instant feedback from everyone.
When you say classes, do you mean the graduating class? Like the entire year, or do you mean
the entire year?
Classes?
So each
the
class of 2012, 2013, 2014. Now here are some pros and cons to using Twitter, if you're not using it already. Pros to it is your one feed could reach thousands and thousands of people, depending on the size of your followers. So if there's a message you want to get out, one thing that I used our Twitter feed for is there was a delay at the College Hockey Showcase last year. The crane broke down on the ice. The game was going to be delayed for 2 hours. People didn't know this that weren't following us on Twitter, but we sent that message out. We also sent it out on Facebook also, but we were able to get instant feedback from people saying, what do we do with our tickets? Also, if classes are going to be delayed, we've sent out a couple messages through there saying, hey, there's a 2-hour delay right now. The roads aren't cleared. Snowmageddon shut us down. Stay home. All the updates are available via RSS or text messages. So you can subscribe to a Twitter feed. If you have an aggregator like Google Reader is a big one. You can subscribe to the Twitter feed, which there's an RSS button at the bottom of it. And when you do that, you don't have to be logged into Twitter. It's whenever your Google Reader updates, you can follow everything that's going on. I use that for multiple universities actually to see what it is going on, because I'm on Twitter all day. I would love to, but can't get away with slacking that much. There are a lot of third-party tools that can be used across various platforms. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a PC, if you're on Linux, there's some kind of tool that you can use to follow Twitter that's not on their website. A lot of people think you have to be logged into their website to use it. I use TweetDeck on my PC. On my phone, I use Uber Twitter. So there is a format for pretty much everything that's out there right now. So you should be able to hit just about every audience. And also, the most powerful thing, too, is by word of mouth. Once you start retweeting something and your friends pick up on it, they retweet it, so you can go from one person to 100 to 1,000, and it keeps on growing. Now, the downside of that is if you have a bad message, then, bad news gets out. But the plus side of that, then, is you can react on it. You can find out instantly what people are saying about your school, about your university, about your business. Unfortunately, there are some cons to it. You are limited to 140 characters, which really isn't bad. It's good in some cases.
That may have changed. I saw something on TweetDeck appear, like a little window appear on my TweetDeck just a few days ago that said you can go beyond 140 characters by signing up for something.
They have a service.
That may be the new Twitter.
The brand new TweetDeck that's out there. I just installed it the other day. I saw that too. I haven't tried it yet. You can go to more characters, but you'll get half your message and then it cuts off and says, now go to this URL.
Oh, the continue problem.
Yeah, that's all service was.
I never click those. I'll never click those.
I want the message right now.
I
That's the reason why I have Twitter.
Yeah, as an end user, it's a plus for me.
If I have a long message, it's great. But
if I'm calling a college that's just using it to spread their message, then thank God it's limited to 140 characters and then you can't go on longer.
Plus, the whole 140 characters has managed to butcher the English language too.
That's why you craft tweets. You don't just.
I have to be very careful with our tweets. I use numbers, like single numbers and letters, and it can get messy. And the other problem too is there's a lot of spammers out there. A lot of people thinking or portraying that they are somebody who they're not. There's a big one right now. But Twitter is starting to do a good job with verification of accounts. Robert Morris does have their account set to be verified. It's taken a couple months and they say that they're backed up, but the big thing you can do for your Twitter account is to get it validated. You'll get this little blue circle at the top with a check mark in it so it says this is who they say they are. You'll notice a lot of celebrities have that little icon next to a lot of their names, and the ones that don't are probably not legit accounts, like fake Dan Bilesma, fake Mike Tomlin, and some of the other ones that are out there. Everyone's favorite, Facebook. The great thing with Facebook, if you're not on it right now, is it is the all-in-one internet experience. Share photos, talk to your friends, install games that drive other people crazy when you post on other people's walls, like farm buildings and stuff like that. It is the fastest growing application that's out there. I call it an application because you can get it as an app. It's a web app, the way that I see it. We saw from Bill's PowerPoint or his YouTube video in there. It's incredible how fast it's growing. Everybody is getting on Facebook. My mom wants to get on Facebook, which scares the heck out of me. Other people's parents are on it. Everybody is on Facebook. A big problem with Facebook too, though, is as I'm jumping ahead to the cons, anybody can post anything they want. It's kind of like a website. You have to be careful. Anybody can tag you. You can remove the tag if you want, but if you're not paying close attention, like if you log into Facebook once a week, once a month, whatever your system is, you have to watch out because you could be tagged anywhere, and there's really nothing stopping people. Now, there is a way to prevent tagging in photos through your privacy settings, but the everyday user doesn't know that. Facebook is really bad with providing exactly what privacy you do have and don't have. Yes.
I wanted to ask a question about privacy because I'm trying to think about how to use social media in the classroom actually as the instructor. And when I was a graduate student, I worked with the student at the University of Pittsburgh, and we had a big problem regarding privacy, and somebody worked at the university having inappropriate contact with the students via social media networks. So
okay.
I just wonder what other people think about, having access to this private area of the students' lives. Like, I think
that's
about
a really gray area right now.
Yeah,
we haven't been able to find a really definitive answer for that.
Because I would love to set up a Facebook page for my class, but I don't even know if I want to have access to my students' Facebook pages. But then would I be able to look at their?
You can have to add them as friends, but I have in the past I've had groups for my class like French 101 semester, University of Pittsburgh, whatever, and they all join, and you don't necessarily have to look at each other's pages, but you can still post on the wall.
Well, I would want them to feel like they could protect me, like they could still be part of our classroom space, but not let me into their.
Well, you can set up your privacy settings in Facebook so that you're in a specific group too. I can have it set to Army faculty or students, so that when the students go to my account, they only see maybe a couple pictures and a few things like that. They can still send me messages, but they can't see stuff that I do in my personal life.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing that we found out too is if you're going to be on Facebook and use that for the school, if you're going to use it personally, so if you're not necessarily in administration, but if you're a counselor or anything like that, set up a private account and set up your own professional account. Because they're still going to want to connect you. They want to have that connection that, hey, this is somebody I can talk to, this is somebody I can go to with questions, but also you don't want to let them in on your private life. You have to draw that line right there.
Those are certainly questions that you should go to your administration with. I mean, we highly advise all schools to have a social media policy that's clear and written and agreed upon. Because the worst thing you want is individuals within the institution making their own decisions, because you're each going to make different decisions.
Yeah.
It's important for you and others to be involved in that process of coming up with a policy, but a lot of people think that it's going to kind of make things restricted and tough, but it actually makes things easier because you don't have to say, is my school okay with me creating a group for my class? Are they okay with me interacting with my students?
And that's why we stress having the guidelines and standards set up, and that we distributed that to the faculty, and I think it was this past summer, and it's going to go to everybody in the fall. Basically it says, if you're going to make an account and you're representing the university in any way, shape, or form, or you get money for your group, these are the standards we want you to go by, or the guidelines to use. Put RMU in your name. Keep in mind that you are a professional while you're doing this. Don't send, don't give everyone access to the pictures of when you're going off on vacation, stuff like that. You have to be able to draw that line.
I think you also bring up a good point in telling people to set up two profiles, and that sometimes to protect your own interests, you have to take the risk of violating Facebook's terms of use, because that's technically against the terms of use. But it's often the most prudent thing is to take that risk.
And I've never seen Facebook take anyone's account away.
Exactly.
They say they would, but I've never known of anyone to do that.
Yeah.
Technically, I should advocate that, but it is against their terms of agreement. But that is the safest way to go. I mean, if you don't care, if you just want to have a professional account, that's fine. You can go that way too. Yes.
I have to say, when interacting with students, I am a big fan of email. And I'm a big fan of using email that comes from, because I teach adjunct, that comes from the university that I'm representing at the time. And it keeps the interaction very professional. And also, if I want my students to interact as a group, Google groups, Yahoo groups, I mean, this might sound very old school, but it keeps the interaction at a professional, college-level conversation. So I just stress that because I'm interested in college students interacting with each other using college-level English and college-level language. And if I don't keep presencing that, it really starts to occur like it's not a college-level conversation.
Right, you have to keep the level of professionalism there.
And that's the context that we're in. We're here to get a college-level education.
Yeah, this isn't just some fun to come in and hang out and talk about whatever. You're here for the education and for the message that as a professor you're trying to convey.
And there's a certain vocabulary that goes with that.
Right.
And, subjects and verbs and, are good.
And shortening words like ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I approach it in terms of my interaction with my students.
That's good.
I wholly understand and sort of agree with this notion about keeping a very professional appearance. However, and this is something I've really struggled with because I came to all this as an activist and as a blogger and a podcaster, and my boss said, I think we're supposed to be on social media, you do that. And, my Facebook name is Thomas Equality Waters. And I've tried to do a good job of setting up my friends in Facebook in a work group, but some amazing interactions have come about by me not hiding who I am as a whole person. And so I don't mean to negate that it's a serious thing to think about and be concerned about, because there is such a great opportunity to cause damage too. I just don't think it's as simple as do or don't do. I think I think one of the things that's happened for me in Facebook is there's a lot of things that I now don't like. I don't click the like button. I don't comment on intentionally, even though otherwise I might have. So I have altered my persona on Facebook, but that I'm an activist and that there are things that I care about is known. And that's actually been a good thing, not at least so far.
That's
So-
encouraging. That's encouraging to hear because from someone in your position, because I think that's great. It's so good. And if you're doing something, if you're putting something online that you wouldn't want your students to see or your boss to see, you shouldn't be doing it.
And before the rule of thumb is never friend your boss. You
Yes,
know what's gonna happen.
absolutely.
Well, and for
Although I'm guilty of that too. So.
And for the people that discover you on social media, for them to find out, oh my gosh, my teacher or my colleague is a real human being. Holy shit! Like, isn't that what social media revolutionizes and allows us to see? Is that
That's why we're in an incredible time right now.
Yeah.
Of what we should, what we shouldn't do. You know, what's saying too much, what's saying too little. One of the things I have is I have a craft beer podcast on the side, and I had to draw that line between there's the education side, there's the podcast side, but there's a lot of crossover too. I got my job because I started podcasting. I started getting into social media. Now, do I stop doing that because I'm in a different field? No, I do both. I've had to draw the line between it, and it's tough, but it is manageable. Just really tough. Yes.
So I was really interested in what you were. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Carolyn. I'm sorry, Carolyn.
I'm Kate, and I was really interested in what Carolyn was saying because I work with underprepared students who have difficulty sort of accessing academic discourse. I try and think of social media as a way, like, how can I get them talking about college level ideas in a way that they recognize that they feel like they have authority about. So that's why I try and think about like blogs or Facebook to get them to talk about stuff they already care and know about, but in an intellectual and critical way. So that's why I want to figure out how to use social media in the classroom so that I can do this and then still maintain. We're learning punctuation, we're learning grammar. So I don't know. I just really
This
struggle.
could be a format too where you can help out other students if you do have a group set up for your class. If they're submitting assignments as a group assignment, saying, "Here's the sentence structure. What's everybody else think is what's good or what's wrong with this sentence?"
Yeah, because I try to think: is a blog the best thing for a class? Is Facebook? Because I want to balance out their privacy. Like I don't want to see them long beards. I just don't. I don't want to know that they. I mean, I know that they do
Well,
that.
if you set up a group, you don't have to know what they're doing in
Yeah.
personal life. I mean, you have to make that effort to click it. They click on their profile to see what's going on. A blog is starting to work its way out. I mean, you don't have so much conversation going on. You post a comment. And a lot of us have blogs. I have a blog, and someone will submit a comment, but I might not know about it for 5-6 hours, up to a day. And by the time I get back to them, then think about what I want to reply, get back to them. It could be a couple of days, and the conversation's dead by then.
Yeah.
And that's where Facebook would come in handy. Everyone's on it pretty much everyone's on it all the time.
And I think you've identified a life skill key. Figuring out your privacy settings. How do you act on
Yeah.
I mean, those are things employers are going to look at. Future spouses.
You can Google anyone.
It's changing those things and it's making me crazy.
Exactly. Just how
Well, that's the thing.
It's like once
Facebook's
I
guilty
feel
of
like I'm
it.
stuck, it changes.
They push out changes and they don't tell you about
I
it. That's the
know.
thing you have to watch. So watch all the big Mashable is one of the good ones for pointing out whenever Facebook has a security change and nobody else knows about or a privacy setting. Always be on top of that.
Yeah.
I got 5 minutes.
Katie, I just wanted to say part of how WordPress was developed was specifically for writers. Like the design of WordPress is for people who are interested in writing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
And now it's just a great format for posting whatever you want because they make it so easy for everyone. I remember being in WordPress when it first started, and now it's just, hey, this is a great blogging format. Put whatever you want on there. It's one click now.
Exactly.
And there's still not a good spell check for it either, which is kind of ironic. Now, one thing I want to touch on too is Foursquare. We're huge advocates for Foursquare as compared. Now, GoWall is another service that's out there. If you've never heard of Foursquare, it's a check-in service. It's kind of like a geolocation service. You get on your phone, or you could use the internet. But if you're on your phone, you could go to say you log into their application. You go to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. You log in there. You say, "Okay, I'm here right now." Well, then you can see everybody else who's also currently there. So you can see everyone that's logged in right now to PodCamp Pittsburgh. The cool thing with this is, as a university, your branding page is the face of the community. Not that many universities right now have a branding page on there. Robert Morris has one, Stanford has one, Harvard, Syracuse, and I think there's about 10 to 15 more that have jumped on here. This is the big thing on Foursquare. When you go to these pages, which I don't even want to try, I'm messing with the laptop right now after the projector issue. If you go to foursquare.com/RMU, we have every single building on the RMU campuses on there. When you log into, or when you go to that page, you'll see the building, the description of the building, who's logged in there, who's been there, and also if there's any tips. The cool thing with how Foursquare works is, as a user, you can leave a tip for somebody at a location. So if I'm going to say our cafeteria, I can say, go get dish A2. This is the best burger on campus or anything like that. And then working with some of these venues inside the university, the cafeteria, you can set up specials to draw more business to them. And it really doesn't cost them anything. Most of these businesses already have these coupons or these specials already set up for something else. You just move it, like the coupon code over to another group. So it's a great way to start building more traffic around your university for your businesses. Also, for incoming students, prospective students, it's a great way to do tours. And you reward them at the end. You start with, like for us, you would start at Nicholson Center and you could start walking around. If you check in here, you find out information about that location. You find out the history of Massey Hall or any of our other buildings. And then at the very end of your tour, this isn't an effective, so don't do this on Monday and then come up and say, where's my prize? And then at the very end of it, you show us their check-ins, and then you get something special because of the fact that you check into each of these locations, and you also just found out more information than maybe the tour guide is able to tell you. Plus, you can go back and take a look at that information. It's also good for current students that only go to 2 or 3 of your buildings on campus. They don't go anywhere else. They don't realize that you have 38 other buildings on campus because they're focused on those 3. It's a good way for them to get out and see what's around there. They might find cool things like a certain nature trail to walk, or if you're in the city, there's a Starbucks down the road that's the perfect place to go to in between classes that you might not have known was there before. Another thing that we're doing too is we're offering rewards and discounts for people that check in at certain locations. For the first week of school, everyone got a free swag bag if you checked into your classroom. Surprisingly, a lot of people started checking in once they found out that they could get free stuff. It was just like a T-shirt, small trinkets from school.
T-shirts.
And T-shirts. Everyone's about T-shirts. They love T-shirts. But there's never enough 2Xs. Everyone always gets
I don't
excellent.
have that
Think
problem.
about player guys. Come on. There's football players that need T-shirts too.
On that topic, yesterday I was trying to see if I could create a PodCamp badge. That would be really cool to put in Foursquare, but I couldn't find anywhere how to submit.
You can create your own badges for it. And one of the other things too, if you're not on Foursquare, is you can. What you do is you collect badges for certain accomplishments when you're going around. For the first check-in, you get a newbie badge. After 10 check-ins, 20 check-ins. Visit PA has one. If you check in at 3 of their different venues, you get this special badge. It's mostly about bragging rights about what you have and you don't have with your friends. And it is a game. You do get points for checking in. Coming up with a custom badge is really tough. I've heard it's also very costly, which is why a lot of places don't do it.
I definitely have seen people do it like
Higher than $50,000 from what I heard.
Wow.
I don't know if don't quote me on that internet camera. Pay attention to me. I forget the cameras there too.
I don't think our sponsors would put up enough money for that.
And the cool thing too is it's been said to be growing at over 15,000 users a day. There are already over 3 million users. It's incredible how many people are getting on Foursquare right now. And it is addicting. I'm addicted to it all the time.
That's a con then, right?
It can be. Depends how much free stuff you get out of it. The other cool thing, as a university, you can work with local businesses. You can say, hey, if we leave tips on your page, as you work out, I'm not into the whole finance thing, so I can't say exactly what kind of money changes hands, but it is a good way to work with the community, though. Say, we have Hometown Pizza close to us. We can say, stop. Hey, Robert says that we're going to get the Robert Morris special, which would be like 2 pizzas for $20 or whatever the deal would be. And it also kind of gives a validity of, or my university supports this business, maybe I should go there. Also, if you have, we have student ID freedom cards. If you use your freedom card at this place, you might not have known about that discount before too. So it also helps out the students in the end. All right. Cut to the very end. So these are the class pages that I talked about. Each of our classes, starting from 2009 all the way up, do have their own class page. It is the school does moderate it, or monitor it, I should say. There are moderators, or the admins, which are students from that class. This has been a really great tool that actually is more student-driven than anything. This is for our freshman class right now. A lot of them are asking about using Skype, different school activities that are going on, dorm life, what's it like being away from home for the first time. They want to know other people to talk to. And the students have been really great with helping everyone out. Upperclassmen have been helping out the lowerclassmen with just general questions about how do I survive in college? Where do I go to get the best pizza? Where do I go for shopping? Where do I go for stuff around school? And we found out that it's really good for tutoring also. Students can be getting together and saying, I'll offer English 101 tutoring, or I'll offer this class tutoring if anyone needs it, or if they're looking for it also. Okay, so here's the final tips I have. Make sure you have a personality when you do this. Don't just be a data feed. That's the worst thing you can do. Do not be a data feed. Make sure that you can reply to people. You want to make that connection with everyone. And it has to be a team effort. Don't put all this on one person. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can do. Have it spread out through your PR and marketing team. Depending on the size of your school, no one person can manage everything. I tried, and it will drive you nuts because you'll spend all day on Facebook and not get anything else done.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of pages too. So our team is actually made up of about 5 people that take time during the day to go through and we check different areas because there's a lot of Robert Morris Facebook pages and Twitter feeds and other things going on. Make sure you reply, make sure you comment on other students if they post information to your wall. The one thing I stress, make sure you tag your content. Your pictures, your blog posts, anything like that will help you get recognition on Google and all the search engines. When people are out there looking for, like for Robert Morris, we have RMU before everything we do. So if you're searching for Robert Morris, all of our stuff's going to show up first because there's 2 Robert Morris universities. There's one in Illinois and there's one in Pittsburgh. And we're not affiliated at all, so we have to watch it. Hashtags are your friends. Those are the £sign with your tag at the end of it. We use hashtag RMU for a lot of our events, RMU Sports, if you want to find out what's going on with our sports teams. The reason for this is if you're using tools, like if you're doing searches on Twitter or on Google, since they're using a lot of the Twitter feeds now too, you can search RMU Sports and find out what's going on at that event at that time. Pittsburgh College Hockey Showcase, which is now the RMU Hockey Showcase, is we had PCHS, there we go. And anyone who wanted to follow the stream of what was going on at the time could follow that hashtag and see the up-to-the-minute information. And most importantly, I had fun with this one, nip it in the bud. There's a reason for this. You can, for the first time, be able to get back to somebody instantly if there's bad information that's out there. If there's something that's going on with your school that you need to know about, you can react to it right away. It's no more, okay, we're going to go to the news does a story, oh my God, we're on the news, what happened? You can find out instantly, and a case happened with Robert Morris where a student decided that she was going to start her own I Hate Robert Morris group. And from that, pardon?
The one in Illinois, right?
Unfortunately, no, it was one in Pittsburgh. But what happened is this person, we don't know if it was male or female, this person said, I hate Robert Morris, here are the reasons, and the reasons were, they were kind of sketchy. I don't like trees or little things like that. And what happened is, this person said or claimed to have a petition signed to have our accreditation stripped away. That got our attention. If there was a hate group, everyone has hate groups, whatever. But this person claimed to have a petition signed by over 200 students saying that they want our accreditation ripped away. So we took a look at it. Ends up, it was from a petition from over 4 or 5 years ago with other students on it. We found that out because those students now work for us. And all said, I didn't sign that. So we were able to jump on this. And also this person claimed that the local news has been contacted and they're going to have a rally to protest against Robert Morris on our campus. Well, that never happened. We stopped them within 24 hours. We said the administration's been contacted, we're now investigating this with our IT department, and it was gone. The group turned into I Love Robert Morris. So that's a key instance of something bad that could have turned into a huge fiasco. KDKA reported on it and said, this petition had started university stopped it. Here's social media at its best. Something that wasn't true, they were able to put an end to it. So, anybody have any questions? I realize we've got 10 minutes before you have to get to your next one. So.